after understanding about the few expressions, how to deal with them. So we will see example of working with different types of operators also. I given you some important operators. What are those? And let's take a look about the categories, right? So what are the different operators, the categories? Actually, yeah, the operators we learned. I given an overview on primary expressions, left hand side expressions, and the operators like increment and decrement operators and unary operators. In the unary operators, I given you about delete operator. Delete operator is used for deleting a property, right? In the other operators, actually, in the other operators, so we have another operator is void operator. We have a delete operator, we have void operator. So we have type of, we have the plus and minus and the tilde and negation, all this. These are all comes under the category of unary operators. And the delete is an operator. The delete operator used to delete the properties. And void operator, actually the purpose of the void operator is it is used to discard the return value of any expression actually. That means generally void, in general people say that no return type actually. So it is no return type, but actually the point of void is nothing but void actually discards. So that means it will discard the expression actually. It will discard the expression's return value. It will discard the expression's return value. Technically, void discards the expression's return value. If an expression is returning any value, it will make the expression not to return any value. Generally, in JavaScript, what happens is, suppose one of the point in JavaScript is, suppose I am creating a link, so anchor, and in the link say click, okay, and here in the link I am not defining any href, then obviously this is a problem. That means what our testing team will do is it will immediately report that this link is not defined with any navigation, means not having any redirection. So it will block that. That means it is not configured with any navigation and it will be a problem. That means it is not defined with any href. So it is invalid. So then another point is here, suppose we are configuring. So in this way, that means we are defining anchor. So href is equal to empty. So this is also invalid. This is also invalid. This is also not valid. Why this is invalid? So because this is invalid because it href cannot be empty. It must accept some URL. It cannot be empty. It must accept some URL and some value. Suppose I defined hash, that is also not valid. This is also not valid. Why this is also not valid? Because the problem with this is nothing but, so it indicates that it requires an ID reference, but you haven't given any ID. It requires an ID reference, but you haven't defined any ID. So this is also invalid only. That means all these are the issues. Then how do we define that this needs an implementation and it is empty? Later it will have the implementation. Then usually we have an habit of writing. The functionality need to be provided later for this. Then we will simply put a JavaScript and we put a colon. That means we are writing a JavaScript inline function, and here we say void. So this indicates that currently this link is not returning anything. Later it may have implementation. Later it may have implementation, but currently it is not returning anything. Now this is a valid link. Valid link. That means when I click on this, it is not returning anything in the URL. That means you designed a link which is not returning anything. So why you designed like that? Because that link requires implementation later. That link requires implementation later. That means we need a later implementation. We need to configure the implementation in later stage, right? So href cannot be target of itself, anything like how you will give a target of itself, how you would define target of itself. How do we define target of itself? How you will write? How you will write href as? How you will write href as? I already showed you that if you write href as hash means what? What is hash means? Hash means ID. Then you are not passing any ID. Then it is an error. It is invalid, na? It is invalid, na? ID reference, you are giving an ID, so and you are not passing an ID. Then what will happen when I click on that link? When you usually click on that particular link, what will happen? You can see that hash is passed in the URL. Am I right? The hash is passed in the URL. Hash is passed in the URL, right? Right. That means it is incomplete, na? If it is hash is passed in the URL, that means it is incomplete. That means it is not implemented, right? So that means you cannot have that hash. Then how do we manage this? That means we say JavaScript and void. We are configuring this. That means it is not returning anything. It is configured not to return anything. It is configured not to return anything. Configured not to return anything. So that is what the point is. That means now you can see that when I click on that link, and it is not returning anything.